Hi, my name is Ptolemy Pruden. Welcome to this edition of the Common Sense Defense Podcast. Glad to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking about AUKUS, the Australian-United Kingdom, United States security agreement. And today, we want to go through the nuts and bolts of really what's going on as of late and how it pans out over the next year. So, what we're dealing with now is about a week ago, Congress cleared through subcommittee the ability for Australia and the United States to work together so that we can provide Australia with nuclear submarines. The important component of that agreement is that it allows us to trade or share technology on how to make, manufacture, develop nuclear power plants and nuclear submarines with the Australians. So what's going to happen is over the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, we're going to be sharing information, training all the capabilities so that Australia can develop and build nuclear submarines. Now, there's a trilateral agreement. So there's the United States, there's the United Kingdom, and there's Australia. Currently, the United States and the United Kingdom has nuclear capabilities through having nuclear submarines. The platform that the Australians are going to be building will be it's called the AUKUS actually, and that will come out in 2040. And that collaboration will be between the Australians and the United Kingdom. The agreement at this juncture deals with the United States providing three Virginia-class submarines to Australia with the option of two additional ones afterwards. So it's a total of possible five nuclear submarines that can be shared with Australia in 2020 and 2030s. And so we're looking at over the next 5 to 6, 7 years developing the infrastructure with Australia so that they can get the equipment and material and the training for their people so that they can actually maintain the submarines. Now, this is a long, long process. And inevitably, the goal of the AUKUS agreement is to provide security and strength for each of us together individually and collectively, and leveraging our unique abilities for nuclear technology, military technology, and cyber, all different capabilities we have. The overarching goal is to work together as a team to make it less expensive, and also we can provide a unified front or a unified platform to stand up to Chinese military expansion in the Indo-Pacific. Okay, so let's look at this really quick. We're looking at um, Australia having the ability to ramp up capabilities in their submarine capacity. It's going to take decades for that to happen. Um, Currently, Australia has five Collins class submarines that they worked in collaboration with some European countries maybe about three and a half decades ago. So the Collins class is pretty much at the end of its operational capabilities since 1989, 1990, in that window. That's when those were rolled out. So that's 25, 30 years ago. So the technological cutting edge that they had uh, is no longer available. So what do? We have to help them to develop the next generation. But what happens is, and this is my concern, is that you're looking another 10 to 12 years before they're going to have the full operational capability to deploy submarines. And that's too long. So, so I'm proposing, and actually in the book that I wrote, China Rising: The Case for Containment, in the book, it talks about how we can accelerate the capability of Australia's submarine force by selling more platforms to them sooner than later. The overall goal is to get the capacity to Australia, and then we help them maintain that capacity and train them towards the future. So it's like we want Australia to be able to be more of a deterrent to China. We want Australia to be able to have the capacity to project submarine force capability, and we want Australia to also have the training innately and to be able to develop and roll out submarine technology and capabilities. So we want Australia to have those capabilities, But 10 and 12 years down the road, quite honestly, that's too long in the distance. So, how do we get Australia to a point where they have those capabilities sooner than later? And the answer to that is teaming. Yes, we're currently training and teaming in some areas now because of the AUKUS agreement and because of the new, soon to be updated agreement from the National Defense Authorization Act that will get passed in the next week or so. Um, and so, with that, we'll have more capability to work with Australia. But the question is, what tools can we do right now? What things can we do right now to give Australia the capacity to operate? And so that's really what I'm talking about. Um, so with that was one, n- increasing the teaming with Australia's Navy and the United States Navy and even the British Navy. But I can only speak for the United States. And so that teaming where they're manned, they're on board our submarines. So we can have 5, 10, 15 Australian crew members on the United States nuclear submarines, but expand that to where you have several, 5 or 7, maybe 8 different submarines that are manned by Australian force. So you're surging Australia's training capacity. So they already currently have submariners. So you're training those submariners to work on a nuclear platform ship. Then you are deploying or putting those forces on United States boats. Um, Now we've done that. Obviously, we've done that with the British with their aircraft carrier by deploying F-35Bs, American crewed platforms to the um, Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carrier. So that's not something that we've not done before. So we want to continue that mindset and just deploy Australian submariners onto United States ships, boats. And inevitably, what we're going to get from that is we'll have more of a capacity of Australian trained sailors on nuclear boats. Then we want to accelerate the ability for Australia to acquire nuclear submarines. So, therefore, we're looking at giving them the ability to have a boat, Virginia class submarine, by 2027, and then you're adding an additional platform in 2028, and then an additional platform in 2029, and then you just start skipping the years from there. Now, here is what we're looking at: how to accomplish that. So I just articulate to you the training component, but then there's a building component. Currently, the United States is building 1.2 submarines per year, and we're fixing some capabilities now where it's going to be going towards 1.5 by 2020. By 2024, we'll be looking at 2020. By 2024, we're looking at 1.5 per year, going towards a 2 per year. That a lot has to happen to get to the 2+1 scenario that we're currently projecting for. 2+1 is 2 attack submarines per year plus 1 Columbia class submarine ballistic missile platform. The Australians, as part of AUKUS, have pledged about $3 billion for the next 2 or 3 years to invest in the United States and British submarine industrial base. And so with them doing that type of investment, it allows us to increase our ability to build out our manufacturing capability. That's one component. There's another component where we have done an accelerant for about $2 billion into our, we have made that decision ourselves to put additional $2 billion into the submarine industrial base. So between the Australians, 3, and then our $2 billion, so it's $5 billion. And so we have, if we keep that cadence going for the next 2 to 3 years, so it's 3 billion plus another maybe 2 or 3 billion from the Australians over the next year or two, and then additional for our 2 billion to 3 billion, 4 billion per year. Then you're looking at a situation where we're able to get the defense submarine industrial base suppliers with the capability to be at speed and ahead of speed so that they can increase their capacity with that increased cadence. So what do you get over 3 to 5 years of a constant investment in the submarine industrial base? Now, I also, in my book, I'll talk about how we need to increase capacity for the shipyard industrial base by, that's a kind of a separate thing. I'm focusing right now on the submarine industrial base. the ability to build out the manufacturing capabilities at General Dynamics and Electric Boat, and our prime Navy primes, and our Navy prime suppliers, is the need to make sure that those 50 to 100 major suppliers have all the capacity that they need, from a workforce development plan, from a technological perspective, also to the ability to have all the lead time for all the equipment and all the supplies they need to build their subunits. So with that financial investment into their capabilities, then you're looking at being able to increase the cadence for the Navy submarines down the road. And part of that is workforce development. That's very critical, because you need to be able to make sure that you have the right skilled tradespersons there, but also that they're getting paid enough. So sometimes it's just a matter of just increasing pay to make sure you get what you get for your end product. So that needs to be a consideration that we look at, is how do we carefully and wisely inject more resources into the pay scale, so that people are more attracted to the jobs, and so they stay at the jobs and not go somewhere else, and that they stay put, and then we can continue to build. So those are the things that we're looking at over the next 3 to 4 years that have to be invested in, so that we can get where we need to get as it relates to being able to get to our cadence of 2.2 to 2.5 to 3. And I really think of 3 to 3.5. Now, if we in 5 years are able to produce a clear 3 submarines per year, that's a wonderful trajectory. Ideally, with AUKUS, with our already deficit that we have from submarines that we have deployed currently, we need more submarines. So any way you look at it, minimally, we need to be producing 3 attack submarines per year. Ideally, and it would be great if we could get to 4. And so you're looking at a constant drumbeat. And here's the reason why. Submarines are stealthy. Submarines are killers. Submarines are wonderful deterrents. So that's kind of what you're looking at in this age where everything can be destroyed so clearly and simply, because you can see them either radar, electro-optically, infrared spectrum. They're easy. You can see every surface ship everywhere very easily. Submarines don't fit into that category, so therefore they add the extra level of stealth and deterrence and capability. So we're looking at how do we get Australia to the level so that they become a military deterrent to China's Indo-Pacific expansion, primarily over the South China Sea, primarily in dealing with Taiwan, those 2 areas. And so how do we address that? So that's kind of how we're looking at that. So what I want to do over the next few podcasts, I want to kind of break down the minutia, break down some of the details that I just finished kind of scoping out there, so that we can look at Australia's submarine production, and where currently, and also Australia's where they're going in the future. What are they projecting? They're spending billions of dollars right there in Australia for their own development. So that's important, and that's what we're going to be relying on. In fact, I believe next year in the summer we'll have a tender, submarine tender, going to Perth, Australia, in the western part of Australia, and they will be training Australian sailors on how to refurbish and work with nuclear submarines. So that will be the very first. That'll be the very first project that the United States and Australia work on as it relates to nuclear submarines. And there needs to be a whole lot more of that going on, so that we can get Australia to that point. But that's going to happen. Australia's got a lot of fight. Australia's got a lot of guts. Australia's got a lot of intellectual capability and a lot of firepower. And so that's what we're looking at down the road. So just check back with me in a little bit, and I tell you, it's going to be great kind of delving through this, and we're really happy to be working with our friends and allies, United Kingdom and Australia, to get to the next level. So we appreciate you for spending this time on the Common Sense Defense Podcast, and we look forward to talking to you real soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.